Thank you for joining us. We got a really cool and a little bit different event today. We're dealing with some very special, unique kind of subject matter, which is the release of 2 new KetoNatural pet foods products. And to conduct this release, I'm joined by one of the 3 permanent canine residents of my household, and currently one of 4 residents overall. Molly is the only one of our 3 dogs who takes both of our 2 new supplement products. So I thought that she'd be a good fit for today. The 2 new products are, number 1, a calming and anti-anxiety supplement, and number 2, a joint health and mobility supplement. So these are they. You can see if we start with just kind of like what the product and packaging looks like, try to get so you can actually see it. This is our calming anti-anxiety product. This is all backwards, like mirror style, so it's hard. You can see that the jar is nice and small. Each jar contains 120 chews. The recommended serving daily ration is on the back of the product. And, it depends how much your dog weighs. Molly weighs about 40 pounds. Our instructions here are in 25-pound increments. And for a 25-pound dog, you should take 1 supplement a day, one of these. Here's one. So you can see about the size of it. They're very small. Up to a 100-pound dog, I think, is the highest we go here. Yeah. And we recommend 5 a day for a dog that size. So my really large dog, Nash, who's a St. Bernard, gets 6 of the, he's an aging, I don't know if you call him senior, he's almost 10. But he gets he does not need anything to calm him down, but he does need joint supplementation to keep his joints from getting too stiff. He gets 6 a day. And the serving recommendations on both products are the same. Under 25-pound dog, 1 a day, 25 to 50, 2, et cetera, up to 100. So I'll give you can see, Molly, do you want this? Here is her. So Molly approves of the natural duck flavor that we've used to make these guys palatable for dogs. These are supplements. So you think of them not like treats or food, but more like multivitamins where, there is nutritional, calorie containing content. Like there is a amount of protein, fat, carbohydrate in these guys, but it's really small. So to give you a sense of what I mean by really small, there's less than a gram of carbohydrate in either of these per chew. What does that work out to? It works out to less than 4 calories worth of carbohydrate per chew. So it's really minimal, which is why we say that these products are perfectly fine for use, even if your dog has diabetes. If your dog does have diabetes, there's a bit more specific information on our website about how to approach that, because naturally you're limiting the amount of glucose that you want to put into the dog's bloodstream. And so you want to be mindful of the fact that each one of these will put 1 gram of glucose into the bloodstream. But a gram is roughly equivalent to the weight of a paperclip. A gram of carbohydrate, each cup of Ketona chicken recipe, our very low carbohydrate kibble, contains about 7 grams of carbohydrate. So if you're very, very, very meticulous about limiting your dog's carbohydrate intake as much as possible for diabetes or any other reason, you can always, if you're feeding Ketona, back down the amount of food in a way that can be accounted for with the treat. So if you're feeding 1 treat a day, for instance, reduce your serving size of Ketona by 1/7 of 1 cup. The active ingredients in the calming anti-anxiety product are numerous. There's valerian root, there is chamomile, there is L-tryptophan, which is a precursor for tryptophan, which is the stuff you find in turkey that makes you sleepy when you eat turkey, and hemp. That's a nod to the hemp content of the product. Are these things efficacious? So the typical way, the gold standard for understanding whether some nutritional intervention is efficacious or not is to look at the scientific record, look at the published science, look at the peer-reviewed science, and see what that says. The only difficulty when it comes to, this is really distinct from the mobility and joint chews, for which I will talk about plenty of evidence concerning those products specifically. When it comes to anxiety and calming, it's really hard to think very scientifically, to know with scientific certainty what's going on in the internal on the internal side of a nonverbal animal like a dog, they can't tell you, oh, this made me feel better. You can observe behavior and you can infer some things about it, but that doesn't always rise to the level of like publishable science. And so the scientific record concerning the links between any kind of nutritional intervention and internal behavioral states is really minimal. It's just really hard to do. And plenty of people said it's impossible to do. If you guys are familiar with kind of like Skinner style operant conditioning, it's like, no, you'll never use it. It is impossible, conceptually impossible to know what's going on in there. Not everybody agrees with that, but everybody does agree that it's really hard to do well. So there's not a good peer-reviewed record demonstrating the efficacy of valerian, tryptophan, chamomile in dogs. There is, however, a pretty robust record showing at least some degree of efficacy for all of those ingredients in human beings. We can communicate, oh, this made me feel tired. This made me feel calm. This made me feel less anxious. And again, if you go to the FAQ page of our site, which is getting updated like literally as I talk right now. And so if you don't see it right now, you'll see it later today. You can see links to all the studies that back up the point that there is at least some degree of evidence that peer-reviewed, good quality, ran a study, ran a trial, figured out what that trial tended to show about the efficaciousness of the ingredient. There's at least some evidence that all of the active ingredients found in this calming supplement are efficacious for treating anxiety, sleeping, to help promote relaxation in human beings. So from that, you kind of use humans as an animal model to infer the efficaciousness in dogs. They're made here in the US. You can look inside this jar if you want to see what they look like. It's kind of hard, but yeah, there's lots of them in there. They have a natural duck flavoring meant to, it's like, again, if the analogy is to a vitamin, you think of like a chewable, like Flintstone style vitamin that you give to a kid because you want the kid to take their vitamins, but they don't understand the benefit, so they need something that they want to eat. Same concept here with dogs, right? It's just enough tasty, calorie-containing material to make the dog want to eat it. Really, it's just like a multivitamin. It's just not intended to be used as a food. Don't feed your dog just supplements. That is not the right idea. The word supplement is in addition to, supplementary to what you're already doing. I guess we can move on to the mobility chews next. So sorry, let me make one more point about these. I try to make a million points here. Who is this right for? This is right for the pet owner whose dog has either conditional or all the time, as you might say is the case with Molly, anxiety. So there's, separation anxiety that many of you probably are familiar with. When the owner leaves, the dog has an attachment to the owner and dog freaks out and is behaving, is whining and won't be quiet and can't sit still and is clearly distressed. Some dogs exhibit this kind of behavior when it's very noisy, when there are fireworks going off outside or thunderstorms. Some dogs experience this when they go into a novel environment. You bring them out to the vet or you leave them with a dog sitter for a period of time, stuff like that. So this is definitely something, unlike the mobility chews, which take a minute to I'll talk about what I mean by that, to build up in the bloodstream and start inducing showing the benefit. These are quick. Like the studies typically show that these are kind of like dose dependent things. So if you take, human beings at least, if you take your valerian supplement, 60 minutes later, you're typically feeling the effect. So this is definitely a product that can be used if your dog has conditional anxiety. So there's specific things, when they're going to happen. Okay, I'm leaving for work for the day. My dog's going to freak out. I'm going to give her one of these before I go off to work. And so those are the kind of folks that might benefit from this product. In the case of both of these products, these are not like multivitamins in the sense that I know I referenced vitamins before, but I just mean like in the taking of them. Substantively, if you feed Ketona or if you feed any other AAFCO approved complete and balanced pet food, then already that your dog is getting all the micronutrient content that it needs, the right amount. There's no, if a pet food company says to you, well, our food is great, it's complete and balanced and perfect, but you should also take our multivitamin just to get you extra good, that's nonsense. That's not a real thing. And so these aren't designed for just everybody. If you have a dog that doesn't exhibit issues pertaining to joint health or anxiety, then neither of these products are really a good fit for you. But if you do have these problems and you're having difficulty with them, these products can help to solve those problems. The active ingredients in both of these products are widely used, have been widely recommended by veterinarians for decades when it comes to dogs and cats. And so these are really common things. You can find many of you might be using a different brand already with your dog and having some success. In which case, if you like what we're doing with our company, and if you feed Ketona, you might want to consider switching to us because we use the active ingredients. You're going to find a lot of other products as well. So that's it for the calming anti-anxiety supplement. This is our daily mobility chews. So like I mentioned a second ago, the active ingredients in these products take time to build up and show their effects. So in many of the studies that have been performed, we're talking about 60 days. Okay. So it's like, there are medications that work this way too, where it's not something that you take and then 30 minutes later you feel the effect of it. No, it needs time to build up and to start to demonstrate its efficaciousness. And so with regards to the joint and mobility supplement, if you're not seeing anything by like 60 days, if you don't see a benefit by that point, you're probably not going to see one. Plenty of animals experience it. And you can see this in the evidentiary record. Plenty of animals experience benefit quicker than that. But at that point, if you haven't seen it, it's probably not coming. So that said, these products, the active ingredients in our joint mobility are glucosamine and chondroitin, which are kind of go hand in hand, as well as, I'm just going to use the acronym MSM and turmeric. Those are kind of the 4 key active ingredients in each one. The serving recommendations are the same. They're like designed, the dosages are designed so that it's like, if you have a dog that's the same, like if your dog is 25 pounds, say, the recommendation is 1, and you want your animal to have both of these, it's 1 of each, or if your dog's 100 pounds, it's 5 of each. So they look roughly the same. The color is somewhat different because turmeric has a yellow color. So that's the size of one of these guys. Molly, do you want your joints up? Oh, good. Yeah. So Molly's 10, almost 10. And so she's got both, like she is an anxious dog. I don't know if you guys can like fully see her back there, but the whole time she's had her eye like on the door to this room and kind of is like ready to dart and is just a worked up girl. But she's getting older. And as she's gotten older, like many dogs, she's developed some joint stiffness and kind of lack of mobility. And the active ingredients in this product help with that. And unlike that's a pretty easy thing to evaluate, to observe, to scientific certainty. And so there's a really it's not complete consensus, but there's a really robust body of evidence that shows that glucosamine and chondroitin are effective for treating, for improving mobility, reducing joint stiffness, reducing joint pain in dogs that deal with those problems. Again, you'll find the links on the website in the FAQ section. But I'm not talking about studies on human beings from which we're inferring the benefit for dogs. We're talking about studies that have been, randomized control trials performed on dogs showing efficaciousness of these ingredients. Turmeric and MSM are more like the active ingredients that you're going to find in the anti-anxiety supplement than they are like glucosamine and chondroitin, which is to say that they've been well studied in people, less well studied and shown to be efficacious there, and less well studied in dogs. So the scientific information that you're going to find on the effectiveness of those ingredients typically concerns human subjects. However, both with regard to the anti-anxiety and particularly with regard to the joint supplement, these active ingredients have been recommended by veterinarians for decades, for a long period of time. This is not some new thing that I'm saying, oh, give this a try and trust me, it's going to work for your dog. This is stuff that has been used for since last century. And the reason that many veterinarians recommend it is it's a common problem, unfortunately. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that half the dogs in America are overweight or obese, but also because they work. So just like the anti-anxiety, you've got lots of different products that are out there that feature the same active ingredients as these. So you might, if you're already using one of those products, consider switching to a Ketona product Like I said, less than 1 gram of carbohydrate in these, just like in the anti-anxiety products, and made by the folks that make Ketona. So hopefully you can trust that our heart's in the right place, that we know what we're doing, and that we're trying to fight for you as a pet owner to improve the pet food industry. That sort of feels like all I got to say about this. Just like the anti-anxiety, they're made here in the US. You can see on this one, just like the anti-anxiety, same size jar, also contains 120 treats. So they will last you if you're going to feed your dog both, they'll last exactly the same amount of time. The serving recommendations are the same. You guys mean a lot to us, more than you probably know. And I hope you're all doing really well. It's a pleasure to serve you.